guys. All right, so we are starting a brand new unit. Okay, I'm going to start with a review, and I'm going to aim for about 20 minutes for this video. So this is chapter 1, which is a review of algebra 2 or even algebra 1, but I really think it's algebra 2. We are going to review completing the square, which is one of the many concepts that will be very important to us, and we are going to review conic sections. We are going to study 2 of the 4 conic sections from algebra 2, okay, or review. The first one we're going to review, it's called circle, and we also will focus on parabola. So those are the 2 we will focus on during this review. So conic section, okay. For this review, we will focus on circles and parabola. Circle, let's talk about the definition of circles, okay? Circles as a conic section, the circle is the intersection of a plane. Okay, and remember from geometry, a plane is when I can have it cut through my cone. See this right here? So if I can take a plane and I cut through this cone, it will produce a circle. Okay, so if it cuts a plane in a certain way, it has to be perpendicular. Okay? If you're not listening, and I hope you are, this means perpendicular. So put in parentheses, perpendicular. So to the cone's axis. Okay, so I'm going to take a plane, so just think about a knife, and cut through the cone perpendicularly, and that will give me a circle. If I slant it a little bit, it will give me an ellipse. Okay, if I cut it this way, kind of slant it but not directly down, it will give me a parabola. It will give me a hyperbola if I have another cone on the bottom. Okay, we're not going to focus on hyperbola. A parabola and circle are the 2 conic sections we will review for this unit. Alright, so we get a circle if we cut it perpendicularly, which is right straight across. Okay, so definition for a circle, besides cutting it or how to cut it, circle is a set of all points that has a fixed distance from the center. Okay, so what I mean by that is I'm going to sketch a little circle here. Here's the center. Okay, so any point I pick on the circle, at all, it should be the same distance or fixed distance to the center. Okay, and again, if you don't know what this symbol is, make sure you spell it out, perpendicular. Standard form of a circle looks like this according to your book. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared, where r is the radius and h comma k is the, I'm going to say center. Okay, so go ahead and spell out center on that line. Just because some students I know do the video notes without listening. So if they're not listening, they will miss that word. So I will know who's listening and who's not. Okay, so right now on that blank space, you don't have to do a blank line, by the way, just spell center. So the standard form of the equation, x minus h quantity square plus y minus k square equals r square, where r is the radius and h comma k is the center. So spell out center for me. Standard form of an equation of a circle, radius of a circle of a radius r with the center at the origin. Okay, at the origin just mean that this is 0 and this is 0. So normally I could write it this way. Okay, so x minus 0 plus y minus 0 square, so x minus 0 square plus y minus 0 square my radius is still r, so that's r squared. So because the center is at the origin, which is 0, 0, I can write it this way. But, I mean, who wants to keep 0 in the equation? So normally, we simplify that out. So we get, okay, x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So anytime you see an x squared plus y squared equals something over here, you know it's a circle with the center at the origin. Unit circle is when the radius is unit. Okay, so it's blank unit, and if you're listening, I want you to put a 1 right there. Okay, so unit circle is when the radius is 1 unit. And again, I'm really leaving a couple things blank here just because I know some students are listening. So if you're listening, you know what to fill in. If you're just copying without listening, I'm not going to give you credit for your notes. Okay. All right, so if that's the case, I am going to end up with x squared plus y squared equals, and go ahead and write 1 equals to 1. Okay, so both of these blank spaces, I want you to put 1. All right, next, we're moving on to general form of the equation of a circle. Now this one looks like this. X squared plus y squared plus ax plus by plus c equals to 0. Okay. Notice how this looks so much more difficult than this vertex form, I'm sorry, the h and k form. So if you look at this, I do not know, okay, it's not clear what the radius is, okay, so I'm going to star, not clear what r is, right? Okay, also what I'm not clear is what the center is. Not clear where the center is. Okay, so when you're given in this general form, we don't know r and we don't know the center. Versus if they give it to you in this form, we know what the radius is because this is r squared, then the radius is just r. And the center is just going to be h and k, whatever the h and k values are supposed to be. Okay, but what we do know for sure is that look at the leading coefficient of x squared and y squared. Okay, a circle, because leading coefficients of x squared and y squared are identical. Okay, so we know it's a circle for sure because this leading coefficient is 1, this leading coefficient is also 1. Because they have the same leading coefficient, this equation right here is a circle. If these leading coefficients are different, then it would be an ellipse. Okay? All right, we're going to go to example 1. And again, if I'm going too fast, then just hit pause. All right? All right, here we go. Graph a circle by hand. So I'm going to draw a coordinate plane. It didn't give it to you, so use your ID or a straight edge and make some tick marks. All right. Okay, so that is the bell to say that you need to go to 5th period because I'm recording during lunch. Okay, so it gives this formula. Okay, I'm sorry, not formula, an equation. And this is in the HK format. So I can easily find the center. So we can easily find the center. If you notice this right here, it says H and K is the center. So this is my H. See that right there? So this one says X minus H. So H is just simply 3, comma. This one said Y minus K. But over here I have a Y plus 2. So what I need to do is keep in mind because there's a minus in here. Okay, so this has to be a minus for it to turn into a plus. So what that means is this. Okay, that's what that means. So if you look at this, my K is actually a negative 2, and that is my center. Okay, and then we have equal to r squared. Notice how this is r squared. If r squared equals to 9, that means radius, okay, which is, by definition, this says radius is r. I need to square root both sides. Okay, let me just get a marker. Square root, square root. I need to square root both sides, then r comes out to be 3. Normally, when you are taking a square root, okay, you would have plus or minus, normally. But, because r is a distance, right? We don't have negative distance. So r is always positive. So make sure you understand that, okay? So because r is distance, r has to be positive. So do not use the negative ever. All right, so this is what I need. This is what I need. Let's plot it. I'm going to make, let's see, about 6 or 7 tick marks on each side, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And make sure the tick marks are evenly spaced out. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so plot my center. 1, 2, 3, and then go down to -2. This is my center. Okay, my radius is 3. That means all the way around to the center is 3 units. So what I'm going to do is go up 3. 1, 2, 3, make a dot. 1, 2, 3, make a dot. 1, 2, 3, make a dot. 1, 2, and 3, make a dot. Notice I kind of have dots all the way around, okay? And just connect the dots. Do not make a square, please. Try your best to connect them, okay? So that way it looks more like a circle. So notice how that's a nice, pretty looking, that's a good looking circle, okay? So do not make it look like a diamond or a square. Make sure you try your best to round out these corners. Okay. All right, so it says, hey, graph it by hand. We did it. Awesome. Now, how do we use a calculator? And that is the question. So go ahead and have your calculator out. And you will have to use a calculator on your test, so you might as well have your calculator out right now. Okay, here's my calculator. When you go to y equals, notice how you only have a y equals format here. You can't enter x and y. You can't enter x and y in this equation. So you would need to know how to solve for, okay, oops, need to solve for y. Okay, so here we go. Write the equation over. X minus 3 square plus y plus 2 square equals 9. To solve for y, you would move this entire piece over. So we're going to end up with y plus 2. This will stay on this side, equals 9 minus quantity of x minus 3 squared. And leave everything the way it is. You're going to put it in your calculator anyway, so you don't have to distribute it out. Okay. Now I'm going to take a square root. So now y equals, I'm sorry, not equals, I'm going to take y plus 2 equals square root of 9 minus x minus 3 squared. Now remember, I'm going to go in and do this. Square root both sides with my awesome looking pen. Because I am taking a square root, remember I always need a plus and a minus. Okay? And because this is not a distance, okay, this is just an equation, so I will have to keep both. So y equals, subtract 2 all the way to the end. Or you can put 2 in the front as well. So plus or minus radical 9 minus quantity x minus 3 squared. Because I'm subtracting 2, that goes in the back. Okay. So this is my circle equation in the format of y equals. All right. So now what do I do with that? I would have to graph that on here. So the first one I'm going to do is radical, so second square root 9 minus open parentheses x minus 3 square. See that right there? Now because this 2 is on the outside, move it minus 2. So make sure it does not belong under the radical. Let's make your window, make sure it's somewhere between -10 and 10. Hit graph. Alright. Well, Mrs. Bloom, that does not look like a circle. Okay? Well, you're right. It's not a circle. It's half of a circle. Okay? Because all I did was the positive half. See this right here? So what I need to do is also enter in the negative half. Oops, I started on y sub 2. Alright, let's go to y sub 1. By the way, it doesn't matter which y you use. It's always going to be the same. Okay? So here's negative. Let's do the negative one. So negative. And entering exactly the same thing. 9 minus open quantity, x minus 3 square. Okay? Move the minus 2 on the outside, minus 2. So notice how these two pieces are exactly the same. The only difference is one is a negative and one is a positive. So let's graph the other one. Look, it's connecting. Isn't that cool? Now, it looks like an oval, doesn't it? It looks exactly like an oval. But the reason it's an oval is because this screen of the calculator, notice how this way is longer than this way, so it stretches out horizontally a little bit more. If this screen was a perfect square, then this would have been a perfect square. Okay? I mean perfect circle. But because it's horizontally stretched out on the screen, so your circles would look a little bit more like an ellipse. But it's promise, it's still a circle. So this is what you would need to enter in your calculator, and I hope you know how to get that. Okay? Alright, let's move on to the next one. Okay. So this one, notice how it's giving this to you in a general form, not the HK form. So you would have to, okay? You would have to complete the square. Complete the square to get it into HK form. Okay? So to complete the square, what you would need to do is put all the x's together, bring down the x square, bring down the minus 6x, give yourselves a blank space. Okay? Bring down the y square, put the y together, so 2y, give yourselves another blank space, and this positive 9, move it over to the right, so it becomes a negative 9. And in completing this square, you're going to need to fill in this spot. Okay? This spot is when you take half of this number. So first, half of negative 6, which is going to give you negative 3. Then I want you to square it. Okay? If I square negative, it would turn positive. That would give me a 9. So that goes to 9. What you add on the right of the equal sign, you need to add to the left, or vice versa. If you add something to the left, you need to add to the right. Similarly to this. First, take half of 2, which is really 1. Then you need to square it. Okay, so that will give me 1 still. So add 1. If you added something on the left, add something to the right. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to factor this out. And by now, hopefully you guys are experts at factoring. Bring this plus sign all the way down. Okay, when you're factoring this, this is an x minus 3 times x minus 3 plus, when you're factoring this, y plus 1 times y plus 1. Over here, a negative 9 and a positive 9 and a plus 1, those will cancel, will be a 1. But notice how these are exactly the same. So normally, we're just rewriting it as a x minus 3 square plus y plus 1 square equals to 1. So now we are in the HK form, which is what we love. Our center is going to be h comma k, which is now 3 comma. If it's an addition, then you need to switch it to a minus. Your radius, okay? Your radius, which is r, remember, this is r squared, but what's square root of 1? It'd still be 1. Okay. So now that I have my center and my radius, I can totally graph it by hand, which I'm going to do over here. Make my own coordinate plane. And then this is probably our last example, okay? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, there you go. Our center is positive 3, 1, 2, 3, and negative 1. Okay. Our radius is super small, 1 unit, so I'm just going to go 1, make a dot, right, make a dot, left, make a dot, down below, make a dot, round it out. Look at that beautiful circle. Looks like a soccer ball. Okay. And that is going to be how we graph it by hand. Okay. To graph it by a calculator, you would have to solve for y. So here we go. I'm going to keep this equation. X minus 3 square plus y plus 1 square equals 1. And yes, I would love for you to do this on your own. On your own. Okay, and I would check it in class to see what your y equal is. So go ahead, take a few minutes, solve it on your own, and I will check it in class. Have a wonderful day.